quitting alcohol. So I'm back. I'm out of the hospital. 6 days in hospital, was it? Sunday morning to Friday night. What a fucking nightmare. What an absolute fucking shit show the last 6 days has been. And it's not like I'm feeling good now either. I still feel like shit. They've just let me leave the hospital. I've still got pain everywhere. I still can't fucking breathe properly. I've still got that fucking stabbing pain in my side. My rib feels like it's broken. It wasn't like I was skipping out of the hospital. On top of that, I've been on antibiotics the whole time, and I've got to take them for another 10 days, which means my stomach's completely fucked. Also, they've been jacking me up on fucking tramadol like 3-4 times a day for the last fucking week, and now it feels like I'm coming off the gear. I've got fucking headaches. I felt fucking nauseous in the car. And it doesn't seem like a fucking thing where I'm just going to snap back into health immediately either. It's going to be a little bit of a fucking process. I've got to do like breathing exercises, chest exercises. I've got to like try and expand my lung because I really can't breathe out of it. I'm getting like a 50% breath out of my left lung. But I think that's just because the tube was in there and it's a bit bruised or whatever. They said I can't do any strenuous activity for 2 months. They kept reiterating that as well, like I'm some sort of fucking tiger. Everyone keeps telling me no strenuous activity for 2 months. And I'm like, yeah, I'm fucking cool with that. People forget that I've spent like 98% of my life doing no strenuous activity. That comes naturally to me. That comes as natural as like a bird flying or a honeybee pollinating a flower. Even my wife keeps on saying no strenuous activity. I'm like, yeah, remember the previous 9 years of our relationship when you never saw me do one single crunch? I think I'm going to be all right with the no strenuous activity, all right? So I think it's going to take a couple of months for me to go back to where I was. Right now, I'm fucked. Just walking from the hospital to the car, I was fucking puffing. How the fuck do you collapse a lung? Seriously, what the fuck is that? It's fucking cooked. That's what it is. But anyway, I'm fucking out. It's Friday. I got out on Friday, which is perfect timing for this week's Fucked Up Friday. This is the second last Fucked Up Friday of the year. The last one is New Year's Eve, if I've got my fucking math correct. So if you would like to send in a Fucked Up Friday story, email me on boylecomedy@gmail.com. Hit my Patreon up, subscribe, cut the line a little bit. The link to my Patreon are in my social media bios, which is Boyle Comedy on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And there's a website coming too, but I'll talk about that later. Anyway, let's move right along to this week's Fucked Up Friday. So the Fucked Up Friday this week has a little bit of a different international flavor. It's from my man who I think wants to remain anonymous over there in Helsinki. Where's Helsinki? Finland. If you said to me, I'll give you $500,000 if you tell me where Helsinki is, I would just say, keep your money, mate, because I got no fucking idea. It sounds Asian. Is it somewhere in Asia? Is that the place the Americans nuked? It sounds like a type of ramen. But no, Helsinki is in Finland for those playing along. Anyway, that's enough geography. Let's just get stuck into this week's Fucked Up Friday. So this happened quite a long time ago, maybe 7-8 years. I was visiting my parents up north where I grew up, and one night decided to go out drinking with my sister, who was going out with some of her friends to see her boyfriends. Now husbands, band. And she asked me to come along. You really tried to do a lot with that paragraph. I'm not going to shit on it too much because this is probably one of 5 languages you know, but you got ambitious. So where were we? So she had asked me to come along. I thought I'd call some of my old mates to check if they were up for a drinking session. But I said, okay, I'll come see a band first since they were playing pretty early in the evening. But it turned out none of my mates were even up for it. It was a weekday and they all had work the next morning. Or at least that's what they told me. Well, if you're listening to this podcast and you're sending in a Fucked Up Friday story, you're lucky to still have friends. Just be happy with that. The band wasn't my cup of tea, but I was drinking so hard I didn't really need any music to be entertained. I got hammered and I was being so rowdy that before long the bouncer came up to me and politely asked me to leave. I realized my behavior had been a bit out of place, but I wasn't ready to call it a night just yet. I decided to go bar hopping by myself. Later, I happened to walk past the same place and there was a different bouncer at the door. So I just decided to go in again. I'm not sure why, maybe I was bored. You went in because you wanted to cause some fucking trouble. I was pretty wasted at this point. The gig was over and I don't remember seeing anyone I knew there. So I just continued drinking. That was until the other bouncer, the one who'd asked me to leave earlier, saw me. This time he was less polite. I don't remember why, but I remember thinking this isn't over yet. The place had a back door to a courtyard where there was a fenced smoking area. I walked there, climbed over the fence and entered through the back door, smiling to myself and literally bumped into the two bouncers. This time they didn't ask me to leave. They just grabbed me, threw me face down to the floor and yanked my hands behind my back. I heard them say something about calling the cops and felt the cold steel of handcuffs touching my wrist. I remember thinking, fuck, I can't get arrested. I don't know how I thought of this, but right then and there, I decided to fake an epileptic fit. He actually wrote seizure, so I don't know why the fuck I said fit. But that is fucking solid work under pressure. That is what I call keeping your fucking head under pressure. I started to violently shake my body and made a gargling sound like my throat was being cut with a dull blade. That's a morbid analogy, and that's also a very specific analogy. I screamed as though my next door neighbor Pete cut off my foreskin and then attempted to sew it back on with his wife's sewing kit, like a fucking zip-on hoodie. Specific's good though. Then he goes, I heard someone say shit, call an ambulance, and felt the bouncer's grips on my arms come loose. I immediately sprang to my feet and ran straight out the door and kept running, laughing at the same time like a lunatic at my own genius. That is pretty good though. There's a few people listening that are going to use that. This podcast is also educational. There's also a few cops listening that aren't going to fall for that shit and are going to strangle you. So a couple of blocks down the street, I realized they weren't following me and stopped to catch my breath. As my panting slowed down, I started to notice it was cold. It was early winter and the temperature was only a degree or two above freezing. And all I was wearing was a t-shirt. I checked in my coat at the door the second time I entered the bar. First I thought, fuck the coat. But when I checked my pants, I'd realized I left my wallet, phone and keys in my coat pockets. All I had on me was a little bit of cash and the cloakroom ticket. The warmth from the run had evaporated and I was shivering. There was no way around it. I had to go back. There was a small park opposite the bar, so I walked there to check the scene. It was closing time already, and the bouncers were handing customers their coats and ushering them out the door. I waited in the bushes until the bar was empty, trying in vain to keep myself warm. When the last customers were out, I walked across the street to the door. Jesus Christ, I'm sweating. This is taking a bit out of me. There was only one of them at the door and a slight smile appeared on his face when he saw me. I didn't say anything, just walked up to him, handed him my ticket, my hands shaking from the cold. He took it, went inside, pulling the door closed behind him. After what felt like several minutes, I was really fucking freezing at this point. He came back. He had my coat over his arm and was going through my wallet. He stopped to give one of my cards a long look. It was my prison officer's ID. Yeah, that's right, I'm a prison officer. No wonder you didn't want to get fucking arrested. Then he asked which prison I was working at. I told him, and he said he used to work in a prison too. Not the same one though. I wanted to scream, I'm getting fucking hypothermia here, but I held my tongue. He stared at me for a moment longer and then gave me my stuff and said, don't come back here in a while. I said, no worries, I'm just visiting. It'll be a year before I'm in town again. We said goodnight to each other and I took a taxi back to my parents' house. I haven't gone to the place since. Well, Mr. Prison Officer from Helsinki, Finland, you don't want to be getting arrested, my friend. If you end up in jail, you're going to be the fucking prison pocket pussy. Maybe not. Isn't Finland one of those places where prison guards teach the prisoners like yoga and shit? Anyway, thanks for your story. It was a fun one. Enjoy your weekend and I'll see you the fuck later.